Classic Historical Tales presents The Last Reich, Hitler in Argentina, 1945 to 1970. Episode 3. The Fugitive Chancellor, Martin Bormann, and the Last Ghosts of the Reich, Part 1. Ashes and Escape. Martin Bormann was not a man of theatrics. Unlike Goebbels, he had no intention to die in the ruins. Unlike Himmler, he did not believe in secret negotiations. He believed in continuity. Many accounts would later claim he slipped from the Führerbunker under artillery fire and vanished in the chaos. The truth was simpler and more banal. He was gone before the Soviets closed their ring. For weeks prior, Bormann's couriers had prepared routes, false papers, and caches of currency stretching through Bavaria and into Italy. While Hitler raged, Bormann quietly moved the Reich's liquid wealth, bearer bonds, uncut diamonds, crates of gold bars, out of Berlin. It was not a convoy or an armed column. It was a file of innocuous trucks and disguised Red Cross lorries. They left before dawn, their drivers ordinary enough to pass unnoticed, their manifest marked as medical relief. When the bunker finally collapsed, Bormann was already south of Munich, traveling under the name August Lenz. The empire he carried in those crates was the seed of what he would soon build, and Adolf Hitler was needed by Bormann to provide continuity to the new Reich. Part 2. The landing in Buenos Aires. In the autumn of 1945, he reached Italy, where Bishop Hudal and the Vatican network called the Rat Line provided safe passage. By November, Bormann and a dozen trusted aides boarded a freighter at Genoa. Hitler and Eva Braun would be transiting to Argentina separately in a U-boat. Their ship docked in Buenos Aires under cover of a humanitarian cargo. In truth, the hold was heavy with crates stamped with Reichsbank seals and a fortune that would fund decades of shadows. Juan Perón, ambitious and pragmatic, had already made arrangements. Argentina was brimming with German agents, and the promise of technical expertise and capital aligned neatly with Perón's own vision. Bormann was never the showpiece fugitive like Mengele or Eichmann. He was the banker, the organizer, the architect of a phantom state. From a modest villa in the Belgrano neighborhood, he began to lay the foundations of what some would later call the Fourth Reich in exile. Part 3. The New Empire. In 1946, Martin Bormann relocated to San Carlos de Bariloche, the alpine village by Lake Nahuel Huapi. Bariloche looked like a piece of Bavaria had been transplanted to the Andes. Gabled chalets, timber lodges, red tile roofs, and small beer halls along cobblestone streets. Even the air smelled like old Germany in winter. Here, Bormann could fade into the background. The locals were used to German engineers and businessmen. As long as money flowed, no one asked questions. Within 2 years, Bormann controlled dozens of front companies, shipping lines, cattle ranches, logistics firms. Through these, he funneled assets into Latin America's growing economies. The Reich's embers glowed quietly in Patagonia. Part 4. Eisenhower's Visit. The official record states that Dwight D. Eisenhower visited Argentina in early 1960 as a goodwill tour. He was the celebrated general who had defeated Nazi Germany. His face smiled from newspapers in Buenos Aires, and children waved little American flags along the boulevards. But in Bariloche, the mood was different. Witnesses recalled how one morning, a motorcade of black cars left the airport without announcement. They drove up the winding road past the lakeshore to a secluded villa. There, in a private drawing room paneled with dark wood, Eisenhower met with men whose names never appeared in any press dispatch. According to testimonies later gathered by Argentine journalists, the meeting lasted more than 2 hours. One of those present, a former Peronist functionary, claimed Eisenhower and Bormann were in the same room. The story seems absurd, but the details were strangely precise. Eisenhower demanded an accounting of what the Germans had hidden in the South Atlantic. Bormann produced papers describing Die Glocke, the bell. The bell, Bormann insisted, was not merely a prototype weapon but something that could influence the balance of power. The Argentine official remembered Bormann's calm voice as he explained how the device had been transported by submarine in the final weeks of the war, hidden in a cavern in Queen Maud Land. When Eisenhower asked why he was revealing this, Bormann's reply was chilling. "Because it is better for you to know it exists, General, than for you to keep searching." No official document of this meeting has ever emerged. But the unplanned hours in Eisenhower's itinerary, the sudden tightening of American intelligence operations in Argentina afterward, and the whispered recollections of Argentine police lend the story a peculiar plausibility. Part 5. Franco's Spain and Die Spin. Bormann's reach did not end in South America. As the 1950s progressed, he sent trusted emissaries to Franco's Spain, where sympathetic officials welcomed German veterans as Cold War assets. Among those collaborators was Otto Skorzeny, the SS commando who had rescued Mussolini. Skorzeny had settled in Madrid, operating an import-export business that doubled as a clearinghouse for fugitive Nazis and mercenaries. The Spaniards called the network Die Spin, the Spider. Die Spin arranged new identities, transport routes, and banking contacts across Europe and Latin America. Skorzeny worked closely with Bormann's agents to ensure any inquiry from West Germany or Israel met dead ends. Money flowed from Swiss accounts into Spanish front companies, then reappeared in Paraguay, Chile, or Bolivia. Some say Bormann even considered using Skorzeny to create a mercenary legion to defend the Antarctic base if the Americans came. Skorzeny himself boasted he could recruit 1,000 men at a week's notice. In these years, Bormann had woven a web that reached from Madrid to Buenos Aires to Asunción. Stay tuned for the final episode of The Last Reich. Hitler in Argentina, 1945 to 1970.